Jesus, when he did the parable of the talents, and he talked about he gave the talents to the workers and the owner of the vineyard.
Were those socks on sale?
For somebody who's got so many zeros at the end of their bank balance, I bet they were expensive. Relentlessly pursue community, even if it costs you. Out of 350 million people in our population, we have an imbecile.
We live in California. We have to pay a price to live here.
Yeah.
And you don't feel like you have anybody except for your wife, and you don't want to share all of your burdens with her because she knew 10% of the crap going on in your brain.
Hey, I'm Chris Lamb. This is the Money Hole Podcast. I'm here with a couple good friends, Fabiano, and what was your name again?
This is the international podcast with Fabiano and Ahab Alhindi.
This is
Sorry.
Ahab Alhindi in the house.
Why? So you're Jordanian. So why did you do an Indian accent?
That wasn't Jordanian?
No.
Oh.
Jordanian has a little bit of a silenter S at the end.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you can always tell. They have other things in their language, but that's a dead giveaway.
Yeah.
Can I ask how the hell would you know?
Well, I Google Gemini.
Okay, great. Okay, great. Nice.
Is
nice.
that a Will Smith movie?
Yes.
Yeah. Got it.
Exactly.
That tanked, that movie.
That movie
tanked.
was
That movie
That movie changed my life.
absolutely
A lot of CGI.
tanked.
Well, in all seriousness,
Yes,
you guys
sir.
are two of my best friends right now.
Yeah,
and,
love you, dude.
And
I'm a little pissed that nobody told me to wear a black shirt. Can I go change?
that
No,
shirt barely
you can't
fits you, by the
change.
way.
Is it
Did
too
you mean
big?
you
A little
probably
too big?
Did you put baby oil on?
Baby powder. Is it supposed to be oil?
Dude, yeah, exactly. Dude, you are looking huge, bro.
Yeah, I've been eating a lot.
No, I mean you've been working out a lot as well. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But you look amazing.
Thank you.
For anyone watching or listening, this is how we usually hang out. And but these guys are doing. You guys are doing a fitness competition in
Yep.
April.
Yep. Men's
And,
physique.
You know, Ahab has had quite the journey. I mean, how much weight in total have you lost before you started bulking?
Yeah. I was 285 pounds.
Yep.
I am 233 today. And so right around, I've lost more, but then I bulked
Yeah.
up to about 245.
Mm-hmm.
And now I've been shredding for the last 2 months, which is tough because you're trying to keep as much muscle mass as you can
Yep.
for the competition while you just lose visceral fat.
Mm-hmm.
So like the only place right now that I'm because I'm losing weight, but it's all coming from my back fat
Yeah.
in my stomach, which is all the areas I really just want to
Last
get.
places it goes.
Yeah, because right now I'm probably in the low or the high, single digits
Mhm.
in my chest, arms, legs, but in my midsection it's shrinking. But man, it's a lot of freaking work and
Yeah.
very little food.
He does look. I mean, he always sends me photos with his top off.
Yeah,
I don't know if that's inappropriate. I don't know if that is
it is what it is.
somewhat. I don't know. You're trying to be sensual or something.
I just think that you understand my process.
I do understand your process.
Well, he sends it to all of us. And
He
you
does
do
send
too.
it to all of us.
Well, you sent one today and you were like feeling fat and he's got literally 0% body fat on his
Yeah.
abs. So I was like, I work just as hard as you and I have a belly. So how does that make you? Going through this process, there's a number of days I'll walk by a mirror and as good as I know I look and as good as my wife tells me I look,
Yeah.
I'll be like, God, I look fat.
Yeah.
And
Isn't that
it
strange?
messes with you, man. Like
That's why I walk by a mirror every day and I just say, I look buff.
You do look buff.
you do look buff.
I know, but still, I don't have a six pack right now. I can promise you that. I'm working towards it.
I have two good ones.
Oh, you look good, man.
I mean, my mum's who are off camera when she saw you, she went, he's huge.
It is. Yeah.
But you're good looking as well, dude. So
Yeah.
you wear it freaking well, man.
Yeah.
Seriously.
This is probably one of the hardest things I've ever done in my
Yep.
life.
Yeah. So when you do a bodybuilding competition, I've never done one, but I've seen a lot of people do it. I mean, it's so much working out,
Mhm.
which is, anyone can do that. But when you combine calorie deficit,
Yeah.
caloric deficit to
Yeah.
that, and you're also burning that much energy. I mean, that was one of the things Doug said when he sent that text out inviting us to do it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad he said it, because I just want to do anything you guys do, but he was like, make sure your family is dialed in.
Yeah.
Your marriage is dialed in. Your kids are in the right place in life. Your business is dialed.
Mm-hmm.
And, he said some other things, and I looked at my wife. I was like, you think? She's like, no, it's probably not a good season for that. And so watching you guys, man, it's been inspiring. I mean, you guys have really transformed your bodies and been very dedicated to it. And
sorry, go on.
No, go ahead.
It's, I think it's one of the hardest things, but it's also one of the most exhilarating things.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, we're talking about the level of, obsession. My wife says you're obsessed. I mean, I think there are certain things that for a period of time you have to be obsessive about.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's not necessarily just the aesthetic, even though that is a marker to show that you are improving. But when you're in such a caloric deficit, I think it's a week by week thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It's definitely a mind game. I think once you built up the momentum, say after, are we 9 or 10 weeks now?
We have 5 weeks from tomorrow.
5 weeks from tomorrow. So we've been doing it.
And I can't think, like, I have to just think about today.
Yeah.
Like, I've stopped going, I have 5 more weeks of this.
Yeah.
I have to get through today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to if I can just get through today, then I can get through tomorrow.
Yeah.
I can't think about the 5-week journey, or also I would have quit by now.
Yeah.
Well, that's how we should always be thinking, right? That's like one of the best tactics in life to succeed, I think, is you just try to focus on what's in front of you today. But when you're going through hard stuff, it pushes you to do that.
Yeah. I mean, some days you just want to give up. I must admit, when you get in that role, it's awesome, because the thing is, working out, keeping fit. Like today, Mum and I did like a 5-6 mile walk.
Nice.
That was my cardio. It was beautiful. And then you come back, and I only did a 40-minute workout today. But when you start you're probably in the gym 2.25 hours. Sometimes I was up to 3 hours a day in the gym,
Mm-hmm.
which is a lot. But you get to a point where you start to maintain a little bit.
Yeah.
And it's the cardio that actually is burning all that visceral fat.
Yeah.
So when you're doing that, that's when you go, oh gosh, I don't want to do another 40 minutes or an hour on the stepper, because it is pretty brutal doing
That's a lot of time.
It's a lot of time on the stepper. You're doing an hour, I'm doing 40 minutes.
Yeah.
But like walking at pace over 5 miles, I don't know scientifically if I'm going to burn as much. But you know what? Like, we're not doing it to win. We're doing it because it's us against us.
Yeah.
And it's not that we don't want to look bad on stage. Yeah, we want to do the best we can. But like, we're in such a massive deficit. And I'm not going to lie to you. Like, I mean, I've been cheating most days, but within my caloric deficit.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm like, I'm going to forego today my pre-workout, my yogurt for you Americans, granola, and my blueberries for just overnight
Two
oats.
French fries.
2 French. Well, I'm not going to lie to you. I've been having a bit of popcorn, which isn't high in caloric content, but I'm like, I want to have something that, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I want to substitute at times. I'm not saying it's good.
Buttered popcorn, or is it just regular popcorn?
No, it's popcorn that's the sweet with the salt.
Ooh.
Dang. But I'm like, dude, I'm doing this for me. Like, I know it's a mind game, but sometimes I'm just like, I just want a bit of that. And I do it.
Yeah.
And then the next competition, if we do one, much to my wife's chagrin, is going to be like, I don't think you should do that. Then I might go, okay, I'll see where I place. If I don't, if everybody's buff on stage and they're looking amazing, I'll go, all right, in December, the next one that we possibly will do, then I'll commit to it fully.
Wow.
But I'm happy with the progress.
How old are you right now?
Dude, I just turned 49.
49 years old.
Yeah.
And you've never been in shape like this before?
Never.
Yeah.
Ever, ever, ever. Even when I was training as a dancer, never been in this shape.
Yeah. I love that. And you guys inspire all of us in our friend group, because, I mean, all of us are trying to get in better shape. And that was kind of the thing I wanted to talk about today. And organically, I knew it would happen. But just the how transformative it has been for all of us to be in a friend group. And I think we've talked about it before, but man, I don't think we can talk about it enough, because I see so many people that they are disconnected and they don't even realize it. I don't know if you listened to that podcast that Jay did this morning with Aaron.
I started listening to it.
So that was such a good podcast, because he was on a very secular hunting podcast, one of the most famous ones out there. I mean, Joe Rogan has done 2 podcasts with this guy.
Oh, wow.
a lot of guys I really respect in the outdoor industry do it.
Mhm.
And, you know, Jason just talking about what he talks about.
Yeah.
But it was so refreshing for me to hear this guy's responses and questions. And it was really, I was listening to it last night and this morning. I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I don't think the way I used to think. I'm a different man.
Yeah.
Like the stuff that Jason says is like normal life to us now.
Yeah.
Like you said something the other day, you said, Jason has changed our life. And I heard you say that and I agreed with you, but I really meant meant something to me today. It's like, just hanging out together and all of us imperfectly, you know, we all have problems and we've changed, man. It's been incredible to watch what's happened.
Yeah, I think when you commit to something in a group, I think community is super important. I couldn't have done this without you and Gabriel.
No.
Like, there's no way. I mean, we probably text
That
back
one
and
Sunday,
forth.
I was quitting.
Yeah,
And then you shared your own struggle.
yeah.
And I was like, this is spiritual. This isn't physical.
Mm-hmm.
And I just prayed and I felt it lift.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh my gosh, it was spiritual.
Mm-hmm.
And I had no clue. But if I was doing it by myself, I would have been locked in my head.
Oh, yeah.
And I would have been like, well, I'm done. It's not worth it. And then that week, because I had plateaued for like a month, like no movement on the stair climber, an hour a freaking day, dying, and just going, I'm sacrificing my food. And I'm on the stair climber and there's no movement on the scale.
Yeah. And now you've lost 10 pounds in 1 week.
And then that week it was like
insane.
Drop. And then the next week drop.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what in the world?
Yeah.
I was about to quit right before my freaking breakthrough.
Right. Hell yeah.
How many times has that happened?
Well, it's that thing. I don't know if I've ever shared this, but you know where they found the biggest gold dump? Like that company spent billions and billions of dollars mining for this gold. And then they gave up. And then the next company that bought it, they were a foot away from the biggest gold mined. And that's the thing, right? We don't ever know. And I think it's in these latter weeks of the competition. I mean, you see change in the first, I would say, 4 weeks, don't you?
The first month I was like, whoa. I dropped 10 pounds in the first month. And I was like, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Nothing in the second month.
Yeah.
And in the third month, flying off.
I mean, I've only dropped 14 pounds since I started this, like 8 or 9 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I was worried I'd never break 160. And I'm down to, I weighed 159.2 today. So I think I'm probably going to compete at around 155.
Yeah, that's likely.
Right. And then you'll probably compete at like what, 220?
My thought is I'll probably get to 220, 225.
220, 225.
Yeah.
But the scale, like, you know, going back to the breakthrough, there's so much there, right? I think in business and anything we do, consistency and sticking with it is so important because a lot of times we can't measure the things that we're doing today for an extended period of time. And it really takes a mentality of commitment to be able to go through anything great because you're not going to be able to see your success till you're pretty far into it. And I think that's true for almost anything.
Yeah, it's compounding, isn't it? It's like you don't see it for the first how many years and then all of a sudden it's an exponential growth. And I think the thing as well from being on this fitness journey is seeing the results and it being so tangible, you just don't want to go back. It's like, you know, you have an encounter with the Lord. You're like, I'll never be the same again. Going on that deliverance retreat, never, we've all three of us have done it, never be the same again. Nor wanting to ever do that. So I'm like thinking now you go, okay, might be in high single digits, body fat. I don't ever really want to get back up to even low teens again because of the way it makes you feel.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So I think that consistency in community is the key.
I just want to get down to high single digits.
No, I reckon you'll be like 7 or 8 when you compete.
Dude, it's crazy. Like I look at pictures and I'm like, I think like, you know, for a lot of the people who are watching, I used to be 340 pounds. Like I was a big dude in my 20s.
In every way, you're very tall. And I mean, you're a big guy.
And so getting down to as small as I am, there is a lot of extra skin.
Yeah.
I was telling my wife, I was like, it's almost nicer to be pudgy
Hmm.
because the skin fills out a little bit more.
Yeah.
And when I'm down to where I am now, like things start hanging, and it's just it feels embarrassing.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that's like, man, maybe I should just have surgery after this and just get the extra skin removed. And my wife's challenging me. She goes, "What if you just got really comfortable and loved yourself?" 'Cause you keep talking about it, right?
Yeah.
You keep talking about loving yourself through the process. What if you just loved your body, even though it had that? And
Sounds overrated to me.
it sounds overrated. Yeah, it was a challenge because we were
That's a great question.
yeah, because like the part of like when will you, like, because you start asking yourself the question, what part of you do you want to change after that? Or maybe I want to get rid of a little bit of
It can
hanging skin
become
here.
a mental
What
game.
hanging skin there? Are you out of your mind?
There's a bit, bro.
Oh, you're pathetic.
No, it's like a centimeter.
Absolutely. No,
It's got a little bit of
absolutely
a turkey gullet. It's like 1 centimeter.
but where does it stop?
You've
Like,
got gobbler neck.
No, it's a good question. And I think that a lot of people deal with that. You know, we all do, man. It's rampant in especially with Instagram, with filters and angles and lighting. I mean, everyone's has these weird ways that they view themselves. And I mean, you see it all the time. Women specifically, they'll say something about themselves. You're like, you're crazy, or whoever. It can be guys too. I mean, you just told us you thought you looked fat in the mirror the other day, and like, you look incredible, you know, and someone can tell you so many things, but if you don't believe it yourself,
Yeah,
it doesn't matter.
And when you're criticizing yourself every day, because whenever you work out, you're working out in a tank top or with your shirt off, you're constantly scrutinizing yourself.
Yep.
Right? It's like a dancer constantly being in the mirror. They're always looking at themselves. And, you know, I think there's something good about that in the fact that you're trying to chart your own progress, but it does become a little bit dysmorphic.
Yeah.
In the sense that you're like, oh gosh, there are days when you think you look great and days when you don't. And it is one of those, our trainer's jacked.
He is.
Absolutely ripped. And he took his top off because he's teaching us how to pose. He goes, I'm really sorry right now. I look a little bit. And I'm like, are you out of your freaking mind? He looks insane.
He told me the same thing. And I was like, yeah, that's my goal.
Yeah, exactly. Where you're at right now, if I could just look like that, that's but it's his profession.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's,
You know, it's not our profession.
Yeah. No. So for you, Ahab, because you were 340 pounds, what has been the key to your mental game over the last couple of years to staying committed to the process? Because I know it hasn't been perfect. Like, I was at your house during Christmas when you had everyone over for 2 or 3 weeks. And
I
remember I called you the next day. I said, dude, are you okay? Like, you look tired. Your hair was all like this. And you had said, yeah, man. And I gained like 10 pounds. And for me, I've remembered that because it's good for people to know that the road to success, specifically with fitness, it isn't perfect.
Yeah.
And so I think for a lot of us, knowing your mental game and like how you, when you hit those rough patches and maybe you had a little bit of a plateau, or you backslid and you gained weight, how did you get back on that path and keep going after it?
Well, it's really funny. Like, I woke up at 4 a.m, probably late December, and I'm in my journal, and I remembered a question our friend Trey asked me. He goes, "Hey, have you ever written 100 dreams for your life?" And I was like, "No, I've never done that." And so that morning I woke up at 4 and I didn't know why I was awake. So I was like, well, let me just do that 100 dream thing. And so I'm like, I get through like 10 and I'm struggling, you know? And then I get to 20 and I'm like really struggling. I'm starting to get really, really creative.
Yeah.
And I get to number 22 and I have the thought, like Doug pops into my head. And I was like, you know, it'd be a dream to do a fitness competition. Because I've always wanted to be super physically fit. And I always have the idea of it. Like, that's what I should be like physically. And and I was like, I'm going to put that as one of my dreams. And then the craziest part was that was the day Gabriel texted us about doing this.
Well, he actually said, first, let's do a photo shoot. And I said to him, it's not enough.
Yeah, I won't
just
do
training
it
for a photo shoot. It's got to be something way more pressurized with an end goal. If it's just a photo shoot, no, let's do the competition.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
But that was the day.
Yeah.
And we're like, and so I was like, yes, let's do a competition. Like I had literally just written it down as one of my, it only got to 23 dreams that day. And I was like, I was like, yes. And so for me, I think there's in the early stages, I was super kind to myself. I actually just did this with my brother. He came and visited me, and I was like, hey, when you go home, just work out 1 day a week, and then just keep your calories below this number.
Yeah.
And then in a month, add a day. And then in 2 months, maybe add another day if you feel like it. And then as you get along, maybe you'll be at 3-4 days a week. I texted him last week and I was like, hey man, how's it going in the gym? And he goes, man, God must have done something to my heart because I love the gym now, Mom.
Yeah.
And I've tried to hate myself into being in shape, and it does not work.
No.
When I went and I changed it to loving myself into being in shape, which means you're kind to yourself where you are today. You don't do things that are not healthy and say that they are healthy because you're trying to, like, I used to fast and be like, I'm fasting for the Lord. I was just trying to lose weight.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. And I would lie to myself, and I'd lie to the Lord. I'd lie to my friends to try to do things that I just wanted to get in shape, but it wasn't sustainable. It wasn't long-term. Yeah. But when I started loving myself into it, man, everything freaking changed. And then now there was a book called The One Thing. And I think I've mentioned this before. Yeah. And there's a quote in there where he goes, you don't need more discipline. You just need enough discipline to build a habit.
Yeah.
And so my habit was go to the gym.
Yep.
And so I dropped the kids off to school and I go straight to the gym. At first it was 40 minutes at the gym. Then it was an hour. Now I'm there 2.5 hours. I shower there. I have a rented locker there. I feel like I'm a resident, and I have somebody come up to me every day on that stair climber because I'm there for an hour on the stair climber. Yeah. And someone comes up to me every day and goes, man, you're an inspiration. I can't believe what you're doing. And I'm not out there boasting. I'm not even talking to anybody. I just work out. But people see your consistency and their lives are starting to get changed.
And that's motivating. Inspiring people is a motivator.
100%.
Yeah, it really is.
And I think when people look at you, if you're disciplined in your body, like a lot of the time you see people that just buff and you think, oh, they're just meatheads, but they can't be, because the discipline that they have to get into shape for that, I think translates to everything. I mean, Doug said it would translate into your business. I mean, I work for somebody, so it doesn't translate into my business, but nonetheless, it translates into my thought process, right? Mm-hmm. That I think when you are physically fit, it does say something. Mm-hmm. It's like, a lot of the time, and I've talked about this on my own podcast, but when you see, and this is no disrespect that people struggle with their weight, but when you see somebody who's on stage who's really overweight giving you this inspirational talk, I'm like, I find it really hard to listen to them now. It doesn't mean they're not an expert, but I'm like, if you've not mastered your own body, then that kind of stuff for me, it puts a check in my, you know what I mean?
I know it's you're a fat hater.
I'm not.
Is that what you mean?
They're muscularly challenged.
I do have a question for Chris. Were those socks on sale?
Nice.
Were they in the clearance rack?
They're so masculine. For somebody who's got so many zeros at the end of their bank balance, I bet they were expensive.
I bet that went right into the money hole right there.
I did.
The truth is, when you have 3 little kids at home.
Are they your kids' socks?
No, they're my socks.
Are they?
But I wore socks that don't match before. I'm just lucky I have clean socks with the madness at my house at
How
times.
small are your feet, dude? Are you like a size 5?
Are you trying to Go ahead. Say it's an Asian thing. Yes. No, I'm a size 9.5.
Okay.
Yep. So, you know,
in women's
average.
Women's socks, women's shoes. Wow. Are these women jeans?
Stop, Fab. Stop. He's uncomfortable.
Sorry. Go on.
He's uncomfortable.
It's funny. I'm thinking of a comeback, but
are you drinking a mimosa right now?
it was. I had
So
to remember
masculine.
that there was a camera on.
I forgot there was a camera.
They weren't on sale. These were actually a gift. I actually get socks sent to me a lot.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, through the coaching group, and I don't know if they're tie dye or what.
Pretty.
Do you like them?
Pretty.
They're
I
really
could
nice.
probably get a pair.
Thank you.
Yeah,
They'd probably be a bit too small for Ahab's feet.
They
Ahab's
might
got
be,
like
yeah.
boats on his feet.
Those are big feet.
You can paddleboard with them. He literally jumps into Whiskey Town with his shoes on and starts to paddle like this. Nice paddleboards. Yeah, I've got 2 of them. Whenever we take the boat out, he doesn't need.
No.
He's got 2 skis.
They're actually my snowshoes.
These are my snowshoes.
Sasquatch.
He is a Sasquatch. He was before he whacked his chest.
Yeah.
Before it was like this shag pile rug, because it just lay down, it looks like a bear.
Were you a pretty hairy dude?
I am a very hairy person.
That's
The
a
vacuum.
Is that like
Dyson
an
is-
Indian thing?
It's an Arab thing.
It's an
I
Arab-
think. I've met my brother. No, I think all my brothers are pretty hairy.
Mm-hmm.
Sadly, my kids
They're going to be hairy as
I tell
well.
them about their future. They're like, Dad, you got hair everywhere. It's like, one day you will.
One day you will know. It's a lot to maintain this. I have to go to the barber twice a week. And that's just my back.
So
Got braids back there.
Exactly, yeah. Cornrows in my back.
Hard.
I was telling these guys before we started the cameras that I wanted to have a podcast where we were being ourselves, and they were worried that, oh, I'll lose my job or this. They were joking, and now I can't hardly get them serious. But,
Sorry, bro.
man, it's so good to have fun together, though.
Man, yeah.
I was telling this, I was on a call or a Zoom meeting right before you guys came in with this gal named Nikki, and she's like a content creator. She's pretty famous. She lives out in Virginia, and she's connected with, the Think Media guy. She was awesome. It was really cool talking to her, and she's been looking at my stuff and was giving me some feedback, and she had really good things to say. And I told her the story that when we were in Wyoming, there was a bunch of leaders, pastors, and we're all smoking cigars, having a great time, just being who we are.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I don't know if you guys remember me saying this, but I was like, man, people need to see how much fun Christian men, businessmen, pastors, leaders can have.
Yeah.
And that it isn't this religious, weird, like we have so much fun.
People don't want to see our text threads because that would be pretty. Yeah, wouldn't it?
Mostly yours.
Yeah.
Mostly yours.
Well, I would say Ahab is just as bad. His memes, yes, you.
Oh.
Yes,
Those are-
you, sir.
Good memes.
They are good memes, especially that one about Biden. Can we just land on that a second?
Sure.
Like,
I don't
our
think I want to go
president-
down this road.
No, let's just do it. Out of 350 million people in our population, we have an imbecile that is absolutely can't speak, can't climb up the stairs,
Well,
and he's leading
it's-
our country.
dude, it's
Wow.
symptomatic though of a bigger issue. It's, everyone wants to say that the president in charge is the problem. And I mean, there's a lot of things we could say. They're true. He's not all there. And it's, we have a lot of problems. The inflation, the border, all those things are real problems. And they're a big part of the housing problem. Being in mortgage, I will tell you that I was telling someone yesterday, the reason why real estate can't crash is because it's very similar to Bitcoin right now. We have an ever decreasing population of inventory because builders can't build with the cost of construction regulation. I mean, there's a little bit of building, but nothing near what we need. And we have an ever increasing demand.
Supply and demand all the time.
And so there's no narrative, there's no situation where that will change. I mean, they may slow down the southern border. I hope they do because it's not good for them and it's not good for anyone here. But the building house. We're so far behind housing. But the reality is like that isn't something we can pin on a president, right?
No.
It's so much bigger than that. And I was watching a clip from Mark Driscoll a few weeks back, and he was talking about how, so many people that are specifically in the church, how we're all thinking about the next 4 years are going to be better because it's my guy.
Mm-hmm.
And then, and we're always like thinking that we're thinking about the 4-year increments of a president. And there's a reality to policy and all that. But the truth is that there's powers behind
Yeah, of course.
the leaders of the nations that rule the earth that I think is the bigger problem. And so I just, I don't really get into too much of a debate about presidents. I vote because I think I'm supposed to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, I don't know how much control I have over anything other than my family, myself, and my, the places that God's given me to steward.
Yeah, and it says God appoints leaders, So, I mean, if God appointed, Joseph Biden, then he's obviously knows what he's doing.
So there was a time we were in Wyoming, and we were all riding horses through the Grand Tetons. And you could tell looking at a few of us, we weren't usually the horse riding type. And we're up there with a bunch of cowboys, and, Fab's up there with us, and he's, got his accent, and he's a producer and a movie guy.
I know exactly where you're going.
And we put him in a Kuyu outfit, which is camouflage for people that don't know what Kuyu is, so he could assimilate. And so he has Kuyu pants, a Kuyu shirt, and hat.
Looked like a pajama.
It looked like a Kuyu onesie.
Yeah, it did.
And we get to the top of this mountain with these horses, and there's all these cowboys from Idaho that are kind of guiding us through. And Fab gets to the top and spreads his arms like an eagle and says, "Can we all just take a minute and just celebrate how great our president is?"
Mind you, these people don't know Fab at all. And so they're thinking he's 100% serious.
The looks on their faces, they did not know what to say.
Oh my God.
That was one of my best moments with Fab.
Oh my Lord. Jeez Louise. You've got to throw a bit of a controversial statement in from time to time, haven't you? Especially with all these conservatives.
It's sad. I always tell people, like, if Joe Biden was my grandpa, I would be so mad at the people that put him in that seat. It's because I would want him to enjoy his latter part of his life, like drinking lemonade on a porch, not being, he's a puppet, and that's the truth.
Yeah.
I mean,
my son, my oldest, I guess at school, they're talking about, President Biden a lot, like the kids.
Yeah.
And they're not saying very nice things. And I said, hey, it's actually not really kind what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know why he's president, right? Like, looks like people voted him in, but he's obviously ill. Like he's got dementia.
There's something going on.
And I was like, in no other context do I think you would ever think it okay, talking to my 10-year-old, to make fun of somebody who's sick.
Good for you.
And that's the reality. Do I think he should be in office? I think the guy shouldn't. Like, I think that's the reality. Like,
yeah.
Like he struggles to do some simple things, and I think it's sad.
Yeah.
And I think we have I think our system of government takes this into account, and for whatever reason, it's not being taken into account.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a very passive way of trying to shame me?
No, I'm talking about my son, not you.
Yeah. The shoe fits.
Indirectly,
if the shoe fits, wear it.
Directly to me.
But that's the reality, right? Like,
it is.
Like if there isn't a context where like it would be okay to talk about somebody who's just not well, right?
No. Yeah, I don't dig hearing people talk bad about anyone, any president or any person. I mean, if there's always the truth about things, and that's fine, but the way that people slam leaders and different people, that's not good for any of us, man. It's a lot harder,
especially as a leader.
Totally, man. And the reason kids are saying things about Biden at school is because they're hearing it at home.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's like, we just have to think about I have to think about it all the time because you guys know me. I mean, I say things all the time, and I go home and think about, I probably shouldn't have said that. Because I don't think about myself all the time as being a leader. Like leadership isn't something where someone like decides to be a leader one day. It's just something that you kind of grow in that. And sometimes I think for leaders, I read this devotional from John Maxwell every day for leaders, and it's so good because it makes you remember that people are listening to what you say. Like I'll talk about money or investments or what I'm doing with the stock market sometimes, or I'll post something. And I've realized like I got to be careful with what I say because people do what I say.
Yeah.
And sometimes I'm just processing a thought out loud.
Yeah.
You just have to be careful doing that because you don't know how that's going to impact people around you.
Yeah, I think we definitely have to, biblically our mandate is to pray for our leaders, and I get that. And,
Clearly you don't do that though.
It's actually true. I don't.
Oh, I know.
I don't. But the thing is as well, you have to call things out at times.
I'm not saying, I'm definitely not saying being a pacifist and not speaking out. I mean, our country is in terrible shape. And if we don't do something, it is going in a direction that is unsustainable. But I'm just saying that ain't Biden's fault.
Yeah.
And it is a symptom of what's going on with everybody and everything. Because I deal with consumers, man. So like I can tell you that the deficit, the debt, the spending, the way that people control their money or lack thereof, the way that people take care of their bodies. I mean, it's a systemic problem. You know what I'm saying? It's like, I don't really want anything bad to happen, but man, I know for me and I know for you guys, like the greatest breakthroughs in our life have usually been on the cusp of a rock bottom where we were sick and tired of being sick and tired. And we were willing to do something about it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is not obviously a podcast about Biden, but I would say he's a large part to blame. You know what I'm saying? He's not done anything good.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And but I know we have to pray for our leaders. But I mean, I think, being an immigrant, having immigrated here 12 years ago, America's marketing plan about being the greatest nation on earth, I actually still believe that.
Oh, I do too.
Like 100%. I've come from
it's still true.
England, Italy, which are not that I have a great love for England, but I have an absolute adoration for Italy, but still somewhat socialist countries. Now, the fact that our current government wants to lean more that way for me is like, it's ridiculous because I've come from that. You know what I mean? Whatever spectrum you are on that socialist scale. But I mean, we were more of a free nation.
Yeah.
And I think America is phenomenal. Like just the mindset that you guys inherently have been brought up with, I think is unique, and it's not the same everywhere else.
No, it's not. And I still have hope for our nation. I would say that, Jesus, when he did the parable of the talents and he talked about, he gave the talents to the workers and the owner of the vineyard, I think, left for a trip and he said, take care of it, make it grow. He came back and the one person said, I took the 5 and doubled it.
Yeah.
The second person said, I took the 2 or the 1 and I made interest on it.
Yeah.
And then the last one said, I was afraid and I buried it.
Yeah.
And he said, you could have at least put it in the bank and made interest. And, he told him he was worthless. Now that's harsh, but I think the thing to think about there is, first of all, back in that time, the banks were just as corrupt as they are now. And yet it was still the right thing to do to invest your money and make it grow. But I also think what he said next was really important. He said, to those who have, more will be given. And to those who don't have, even what they have will be taken from them. And man, that is such an important principle for the idea of socialism, because all these people that think that this, the California $20 an hour raise to their minimum wage that guys like Ahab is having to implement is going to make them more money. They have no idea that everything they pay for is going to cost more. And the value of what they have is going to be worth less. When we look at the pandemic, if you look at how much stimulus was given to the middle class and the lower middle class, if we could track those dollars over the last 4 years and see where they ended up, you know where they ended up? They ended up in the S&P 500, in Apple stock, in real estate, because when people go out with their money and they don't have value for it, and they buy flat screen TVs,
Right.
Apple computers, new iPhones,
Yeah,
new
for
cars,
real.
that makes the stock price go up. And the people who own those stocks and who have assets are the benefactors of all the free money that went in and slipped right through the hands of everyone that spent it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now those people are literally poorer than they were in 2020 because inflation is so high that
Yeah.
they can hardly survive on what they made.
Yeah.
And so when people really think through these principles, it makes a lot of sense that, man, I hope they ask the question, wait a minute, I don't know if the way the Federal Reserve and our government has been running things is actually the best thing for me and my family.
Yeah.
And it's kind of crazy to me that people don't think that more often.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think that living here, loving living here, never wanting to be anywhere else. I know there are issues, but I've probably spent out of my own money, because I lived here for 4 years without earning any money, probably like $1 million. So I'm still like, you catch up from that, but I still wouldn't change it and wouldn't want to be anywhere else. That's for real.
Well, in closing on that
Wouldn't.
thought, we live in California
Mm-hmm.
and we have to pay a price to live here.
Yeah.
And I have people that ask me regularly from other states, like, dude, why are you still there? And my answer is always, you guys, man. This is the community.
Yep.
Like, I just know the power of friendship.
Yep.
And we have guys around us who are strong husbands, fathers, men of God who are trying to do the right thing with everything they have.
Yep.
And if you hang out with people like that, obviously you can have a lot of fun.
Yeah.
You can be honest. But you'll change over time. It just isolation is the enemy, right? For all of us. And we see people, we see their lives melt down all the time. And man, the biggest thing that's changed me over the years, and you guys know my story, has been just spending time with people who make me better.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah. Our friends have, I shared this in our core group on Monday night. Like in 2018, I lost my brother, nearly lost my business, nearly lost all my properties because of the car fire. And I was sitting there thinking about that season and how, man, it was so hard to just get through the day. And I was thinking, I was like, if I had this group of men in my life, that season would have looked so different. So different. The accountability, just a place to go laugh.
Yeah.
Like even if it was once a week, just a place to just go and cut up and be stupid. And like a text thread that like I can look forward to. Like today, the text thread is like, I'm in the middle of 1,000 different things, but man, like I'm like back then it was such a dry, emotional place. Like I would have done anything to be in a text thread like that, and I've been so thankful for this group because I find strength in my relationship with you. Like I was talking to my employees the other day and I was like, guys, do you know why we're in this building? Like, do you know why I have an office here? And they're like, well, we needed an office space. I'm like, yeah, but I was going to buy a building down the road. Do you know why we're here? And they're like, no. I was like, I just want to be around that man right now.
So you'd rather be around him than not rent a room in one of my buildings?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
I can't blame him.
You have a building?
Yeah. I have a few.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I have a few.
You have a few buildings?
I do.
Just like recent?
No. Shut up.
Well, I want to ask a question to you guys.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people reach out to me over the last couple of years, men. I've had people call me through the mortgage, business, and I get on a call with them and I realize he's not actually asking me about a mortgage. Like he's trying to find out like how to find what we have. And so there's been people listening and watching. And, if you're someone who's a man, you got all the pressures of life you're struggling, you feel alone, like what would you tell someone they should do to find what we have found?
Relentlessly pursue community, even if it costs you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like relentlessly pursue it. Because so many people have so many contingencies when they're with friends. Like we're similar, but we're all different, all at different phases of life, different kids, whatever. But I would say relentlessly pursue it no matter what it costs you, because in the end, it's going to be worth it. And like any investment, you just have to daily cost average into it. Choice, you know what I mean? All the time. And I think another thing is learn to communicate and learn to not respond out of your triggers.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would do. And that's why a lot of groups break up, because they get triggered by certain people.
Yep. What about you?
I think he's nailed it. Like hunting. Before 3 years ago, I never went hunting.
Yeah.
I started getting around guys that I wanted to be in relationship with.
Mm-hmm.
And so I went on a trip. I didn't kill anything. I didn't even get a tag. I just went along to be with people. And I realized, man, how often do you guys do this? Like 2-3 times a year, you like pack up and go out into the middle of nowhere and be friends. I'm like, yeah, sign me up for that. Like, and so I got into hunting, not because I have like a major infatuation with killing an animal, but though I love it now. Like it's pretty fun.
I'm a vegan, so I don't understand what you're talking about, but go on. Sorry.
Good.
Continue.
I'm glad you like to shoot tofu with your arrows. But like for me, it was like, okay, this is one, learning a new skill is always a good idea, no matter how old you are, right? Like picking up a bow, shooting a bow 30, 40 minutes a day, killing an antelope with a bow. That's an awesome thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, going hunting equaled growing in community.
Mm-hmm.
And so I got into hunting because the people I wanted to be in a relationship with, and it costs, because bows are expensive.
Yeah.
Hunts are expensive. Like all that stuff costs you a lot of money. But I wanted to, I said, I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to do this to be in community, because these men are the men I want to be in my life.
Yep.
And that was that. So yes, I think what you're talking about with the, getting rid of triggers, I think like I love our group. I don't see eye to eye with every man in that group. I don't think politically we would agree on every area. I don't think in marriage or in raising our kids we would agree in every area.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a common bond between us where I would go to war with you.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember when like one of our friends is going through a hard time in his marriage, and then another one's going through a hard time in his marriage, and then another one's going through a hard time in his marriage. So it's not all sunshine and roses, right? And I sent out a voice memo to everybody. I'm like, this is why we started hanging.
Mm-hmm.
It's so we can lock arms together right now in the middle of all of our crap and fight together. So let's lock arms.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we started getting more intentional with each other, praying for each other more, connecting with each other more. People are checking on each other more. And it was like, we need this because honestly, like I've been in hell on earth and your life feels like it's falling apart and you don't feel like you have anybody except for your wife and you don't want to share all of your burdens with her because she knew 10% of the crap going on in your brain.
Right. Totally.
And so I think for me, having a community, for me, it was doing something, finding men that I admire and then going after that relationship.
Yeah, I think that I heard someone say it this way once. It's not that we don't fall. We just don't fall as far when we're together. Like like you said, man, it's not perfect. We got guys going through stuff. We've all gone through our stuff, but we're not all going through the same thing at the same time. And I would say the last thing is people need to understand, they need to find people that are safe. And, Jason always says, your friends don't always make your best guides. We're a little fortunate where we have a group of friends who can guide us in a lot of areas. But you need to have some people who have what you want. Like if you're trying to get marriage counseling, it's probably, or someone to speak to you about marriage, you probably wouldn't want to talk to someone who's been divorced twice, you know,
Yeah.
you're trying to get fitness counseling. You guys know what I'm trying to say. So finding people that have what you want and then fighting to spend time with them. I say that all the time on here, but I just want people to know I do that every week.
Mhm.
Like I literally am on a call with someone this week that I DM'd cold. And they responded, and I got on a Zoom call with them. And I told this lady today, Nikki, she's a famous Instagram gal. She's like, well, what are we doing? I had to pay her for her time. I said, you know what? I'm on a journey in my life to learn the things I don't know. And I think you have something to teach me.
Wow.
So I appreciate you guys. I love you guys.
Love you too, bro.
You too, man.
Yep.
Thanks for having us on.
Well, if you got anything out of this, please smash that subscribe button, leave a comment, and we'll see you on the next episode.